Good morning, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Monday Merriment. Today is November 18th, 2024. The moon phase is waning, and the moon sign is in Cancer. This is a good time for healing spells of all kinds and to eliminate problems in relationships. Well, I know I mentioned in the last few weeks that I was trying to get my house in order, and I have been working on that. Yesterday, I was doing some cleaning in different rooms of the house and throwing things I don't need away, and just cleaning here and there. Today, I'm waiting for a package to arrive from Amazon. I have gotten very discouraged about coming home, to a house that's just filled with clutter. And it's kind of like very difficult because, the space in this house, in this little apartment, only allows for so much. We have like maybe about 3 kitchen cabinets in the kitchen, and you don't realize how much you really have until you get into these situations. So there's times where I don't have enough space in the cupboard, so then I end up putting it on the countertop, and it just became a nightmare. So now I'm getting more into organization. So I wanted to show you some of the things that I'm doing right now. I purchased 2 of these. This is like a I guess what you call it, like a rack, I guess, or maybe like what would the official word be? It's a baker's rack. Okay, it's a baker's rack, and I purchased it at Amazon, 2 of them. That's what I'm waiting for today, and I'm going to be putting them side by side. I have like a lot of bowls and what do you call it, like plastic where you can like put sandwiches and stuff like that in there, and then spices. I would say that my cabinet space is not adequate enough to hold all the spices and stuff that I have. So and it just coming home every day was just becoming a nightmare. Like how clutter is something that causes confusion. And this is one of the reasons why I'm making this video, because I think it's really important to be in a space where you can think properly, and so I love these space saver type things that you can get on Amazon, and I'm really looking forward to getting this stuff done. Like a few weeks ago, I was my son had to work on the weekend, so he couldn't take the stuff down to the dump. We ended up throwing away like an old couch, a chair, just stuff that I didn't need, okay? And so I felt extreme relief, but I didn't have enough time to go out and do some serious cleaning. And I'm looking forward to actually mopping the floors and everything else, because I think it's important to have a clean home. And I think it's important mainly because, like I said, when you're in a place that's cluttered, you cannot think properly. So I'm looking forward to this. And as soon as I set it up, I'm definitely going to be taking another pictures of it to let you guys see what I did. I also purchased this dish drying rack to get more counter space. This is where most of the clutter is in the kitchen, is the counter space, because what doesn't fit in the cabinet was sitting there on the countertop, and it was driving me crazy. It's like when you get off from work. I'm a clean freak. I would say that I'm somebody who likes to have organization, and I see the importance of it. It affects your overall morale and how you feel. When you are in a clean space, you feel more motivated to do things. And I have not been feeling like, a lot of motivation lately because of the condition of my house. So I'm looking forward to getting my house set up in order, because I noticed that throughout my life, I've always noticed that the energy with it surrounding me. And I know I had mentioned this story before about me growing up and sharing a room with my adoptive sister, Lisa. And I know that, I've made the comparison of the Odd Couple. This is an old TV show where there's like this Oscar character and there's this Felix. And I'm not trying to be, mean or anything like that, but I've always wanted to have space to where everything is organized, okay? And my sister wasn't really that concerned about those sort of things. And because we shared a room, that obviously affected me. And it made me agitated a lot and very frustrated because I understand the importance of a clean environment and I'm very sensitive to it. And it didn't, my sister didn't really have the motivation or the concern of having a clean space. This is not a put down, but sometimes it's frustrating when you understand the importance of these sort of things and other people really aren't that motivated, but you try to get them motivated. And once they see that it's a clean environment, they themselves will start falling in line of this thinking because it's important for their overall being. It really is, okay? So sometimes you have to be the initiator of, setting the example, like in a living situation. Now, my sister, I ended up moving into my own room when I was in high school, and I was very grateful that I did because, I had my little space, I had my cleanliness. I didn't have to worry about, my sister coming and having all this mess or whatever. So anyway, I don't want to get it too much off the subject, but yes, I purchased this in the color black. Now I did get the baker's rack in white, but they did not have this in white. If they had it in white, I would have definitely purchased it in white, but they didn't. So I got it in black, and this is going to save me a lot of space on the countertop. And I think it would be nice just to have it, because my kitchen window is kind of like this setup right here. This is just the advertisement. It's facing that direction where it's out. I'm looking outside the window. So it would be nice. And I also was inspired, of course, to clean out my back area of my apartment, which I'm still not done with that. There's some plants that have, I kind of let the plants and stuff outside go, which was something that I regret doing. But it just got to be a very big battle, emotional battle for me in the last, I would say, 6 months. Yeah, I can't believe I let things go that long, but I was very depressed, and I'm trying to shake through and the depression and try to find more positive energy so that I'd be more motivated to do things around the house. And cleanliness is key. Organization comes through having everything in order in your surroundings, and everything else falls in line. And this is a principal concept in Feng Shui. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about Feng Shui in the next few slides. Now, if either one of these items interests you, the information to purchase them are in the description box. Like I said, in the last few months, I have let a lot of things go, mainly because I was dealing with a lot of depression. And I still have my days where I'm just like, and sometimes it can be a struggle. And I do think that I've always been very attached to the home. The home environment is the place where I feel safe, and it's my personal space, right? It's where I dwell. So I know in the last few months I have just basically been hanging out in my room because I can't deal with the kitchen nightmare. And of course, when I do go to the kitchen, because eventually you have to go down there, you gotta go down there. It was just causing me major depression. I just wanted to hurry up, cook my food, get done with it, and go upstairs. And that's not like me. And I also like spending time in my back area in the past because, I have my little flowers and nothing elaborate or anything, but it was just a nice little space to where I can relax. And I'm getting back into that right now. I'm trying really hard to pull myself out of any form of depression. So me having the positive energy flowing through my home is very important. So today I'm talking to you guys about thinking of ways to eliminate clutter and where this can be applied. Okay, I suggest your home. Okay, and making sure that each room is clean. Now I understand that everyone works. Sometimes we just don't have time. But the important thing is to put things back where they belong. Okay, so you don't have to worry about putting it back at some other time because, when things get on the counter, it starts to accumulate. Like you might leave a cap of something on the countertop. And the next thing you know, you leave another cap on the countertop. Now, I'm not somebody who has this problem, but I'm just giving you an example of why you should get into the practice of putting things away so it doesn't become a nightmare later. Okay. I am not one of those people. I always put the things, you know, the caps on things. I always put things back where they belong. But this is just an example of how things can get out of control. So this applies to your home, also your garage. Like, you know, when it comes to your tools, it's very frustrating to find when you're working on a project or something happens and you need to find like the right tool and you go into a toolbox and it's scattered and it doesn't make sense because, you know, maybe somebody didn't put the wrench back or they didn't put the screwdriver back or whatever. Okay. Always having things in order, and there's organizers for your garage. You know, they have all kinds of toolboxes, and things where you can put like nuts and bolts and stuff like that. If you can find those little organizers, sometimes you can even find them at the dollar store. That's good too. But make sure any space that you're working in, dwelling in, functioning in, should be free of clutter. Also, your workspace, like if you have an office desk, you make sure that, you know, even in your drawers for your home as well as work, clutter signifies confusion. Okay, and also sometimes clutter also signifies hidden secrets. You know, people who keep their, what do you call it, their ghost in the closet. Oh, I forgot that expression, but you know what I'm talking about. Keeping your drawer space free of clutter is also highly suggested. And another place that I'm trying really hard. I just recently, somebody donated a car to me, and I still have not really properly taken care of it. Like maybe like washing it and all this other stuff. It's terrible. I know it's terrible. But, you know, I would say that I get really tired on the weekends. And this is not, it sounds like an excuse. Okay, maybe it is. Okay, but, you know, hey, I'm really trying here. But I do plan on taking the vehicle in and having somebody clean it for me. Mainly because I don't have a clean car vacuum myself, or I could take it to one of those places where you go and clean out and vacuum it. But keeping the car clean, free of clutter is another thing. I remember. Now, I would say the inside of the car that someone gave me that was donated to me, I do keep it free of clutter. Okay, but you know, it needs to be scrubbed on the outside. It needs a good vacuuming. I did wash down the dashboard and stuff like that, but it needs a little bit more. And I would say that, you know, when the car is in my previous vehicles, when the car is free of clutter, I feel better about going into it. Now, when I was younger, I cannot tell you the kind of stuff, the crap. Now, I am generally a clean person, but I used to have a problem with keeping my car clean because I would eat in my car and leave wrappers. I would leave coffee cups in my car and stuff like that, and it can get to be a nightmare. And you want to go somewhere, and it just feels like really demoralizing to get in a car that's filled with junk. Okay, so that's another area, and you can think of other areas that might need to be cleaned. You know, I don't know anything else other than home, garage, workspace, and car. But any place that you spend time in, you want to make sure that it's a place that's free of clutter and it has a positive energy flowing through it. Now, I've touched on this subject a little bit before. I'm referring to Feng Shui, and I am not what they call a professional Feng Shui, consultant or anything, but I do practice a little bit of what I've learned throughout the years. And Feng Shui originated in ancient China, and it uses energy forces to harmonize individuals with their surrounding environments. The term Feng Shui means wind and water, and it's in ancient times, landscapes and bodies of water were thought to direct the flow of this universal energy that's referred to as Qi. And this is through the spaces and structures. Okay, Qi is believed to be the vital force of all living entities, which means like vapor, air, or to breathe. Feng Shui is a form of geomancy. Geomancy literally means earth divination, and the term was originally used to mean methods of divination that interpret geographic features such as markings on the ground or patterns formed by soil, sand, or rocks. Before I get into the lesson of Feng Shui, I want to talk about some of the things that I have noticed, and maybe you've noticed these things yourself. Like, for example, some businesses that don't stay in the same location. Sometimes, you know, the location of a certain place may have very strange energies. Like, you know how know some people um, don't want to move into a house where somebody has died. That those energies leave an imprint. And sometimes, you know, like for example, I've known when I was growing up, there were certain businesses that wouldn't stay in a particular building for very long. And I'm not saying that they were built on like a cemetery ground, but maybe there's a room that might not be aligned, or maybe an entrance door may not be in the certain points that allow for positive chi to flow into it. I remember I moved into a house when back in the 90s, and it was a house I had mentioned before. It was made by some high school students back, I think, in the 1920s. And this house was very strange the way it was designed. Like, you open the door, the house, okay, the entrance door was facing south. Okay, that's not that big of a deal. Okay, but you walk in, and the minute you walk in, you're literally facing a wall. Okay, and then you have to go out, you turn right, and then you would go into like a little corridor, and then you'd go into the living room, and then off to the other side, it was like a kitchen, a little kitchenette and stuff like that. And I've always felt like that house was really, really weird. Like, it just had very bad energies, and I had noticed that a lot of people would not stay in it for very long. Okay, and I do believe that this is one of those issues where Feng Shui applies. Just like, you know, there was a building in Lancaster where a lot of people would move into it, and it wouldn't. It was a restaurant for several years, okay, and it would stay open for maybe about a year, and then people would just kind of move out of it. And finally, I drove past that building. I would say maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, and I noticed that it was functioning actually a little bit longer than 10 years ago. But I had noticed that the people who are staying in that building now, you know, have thrived in that building. And what they did was they changed the entrance location, and they did some modifications, and it's no longer functioning as a restaurant. I don't know if they consulted a Feng Shui um, expert, or maybe somebody just came in and started feeling it out, and maybe they intuitively corrected the situation. I do know that they are no longer using the entrance door that used to face in the front of the street. So who's to say? But if you are in one of those houses that feel kind of misaligned, or maybe you ended up purchasing a house that feels kind of off, it wouldn't really hurt to consult an expert. I don't know Judith Aurora Ryan personally, but I do use her website to get astrological timings. I will put her link in the description box because she is supposed to be an expert. Okay, but anyway, these are just some of the examples of, you know, Feng Shui. Also, if you ever rearranged your furniture and you felt like something was just kind of off, and you didn't feel quite right about it until it was in this particular spot. It was lined up and it just kind of felt right. That to me is one of those things that signify Feng Shui and in like, you know, in motion. Because you're feeling out these energies that don't feel right until it's in a certain spot. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about, you know, trying to get your house in alignment to get the positive energy flow once you clean it. Now, I'm going to say the first thing you should do is clean your home, you know, and I like to clean my house first with, you know, things like pine sol, bleach or whatever. And if you want to add certain things like floor washes, those are helpful as well. Things that attract or eliminate energy. Like during this time, we're at the waning of the moon right now. You know, a cleansing with maybe vinegar or something is helpful. I like pine sol because it not only cleans germs, but I also like the smell of it. And the pine is actually a purifying type of scent. But anyway, clean first, and then you can focus on other energies that you want to add to your home, and that's what we're talking about today. Home, work, car, whatever space you're in. In most occult systems, the four cardinal directions are recognized as earth as north, air as east, fire as south, and water to represent the west. Sometimes the fifth element is acknowledged as either ether or spirit. In Feng Shui, the full directions are covered, even the in-between directions like the northeast, southwest, so on and so forth. In Feng Shui, all 8 directions are used, and the center, which some may see as either ether or spirit, is the 9th placement in the directional compass, which is referred to as the Bagua. Now, the Bagua is what you're looking at right now, and I got this off the internet. I was just looking for images, but I thought this was the best one that kind of gave you an idea of what these different directions represent. Let's go over the directions to give you some ideas on how to get some chi flowing in. You know, I feel like I'm just going to go ahead and start with the north direction. The north direction applies to work and career, and the element for north in Feng Shui is water. Okay, the colors to represent the north is dark blue, dark green, and black. And for a suggestion, you might want to try using your company logo and representations of the kind of business that you do in this particular area of your home, business, wherever it is that you are. The northeast direction applies to knowledge, and the element is earth. The colors to represent northeast would be green and blue. Suggestions would be bookshelves with, of course, books, and symbols to represent knowledge. The east direction applies to ancestral spirits and health. The element is wood. Now that's different from what I've taught in the past about the 4 cardinal directions. But in Feng Shui, wood is recognized as an element. And if you really want to get deep down into Feng Shui lessons, like I said, I am going to put Judith Aurora Ryan's information in the description link. I am not an expert on Feng Shui, but I do apply the principles in my home or wherever I am. And I also combine Feng Shui principles with what they call Western ideas as well, okay? And they can be interchanged, okay? Anyway, so the colors to represent East, for me, it's yellow, okay? But a lot of Feng Shui people who practice Feng Shui, I should say, focus a lot on green, okay? I use yellow to represent East, mainly because I look at East mainly as the element of air. But I also look at it as East as, the new beginnings. So I guess I can also see the green association. Anyway, suggestions for East is houseplants and symbols of vitality. The southeast direction applies to prosperity and wealth. The element is wood and the color is purple. Suggestions, wooden furniture and wealth symbols. There are times where you can redo furniture and paint it yourself. There's nothing wrong with a purple desk or a purple altar table. These are just some ideas. The south direction applies to your reputation and fame. The element is fire and the colors are orange, gold, and red. As a suggestion, you could display your certificates and degrees in maybe an orange, gold, or red frame. The southwest direction applies to love and marriage. The element is earth and the colors used would be pink or red. Suggestions would be to use matching items to show pairs. So like, for example, if you're trying to attract new friendships, you might want to get a picture with maybe 2 people in the frame instead of just 1. Like, how you get pictures of people in your house or whatever. Show depictions of couples if you're interested in a romantic relationship. Show pictures of couples, or maybe like you see like salt and pepper shakers, 1 guy, 1 girl. If you're looking for a platonic, just a regular friendship, you might want to get like maybe 2 girls, or if you're gay, I guess you could use 2 girls or 2 guys or whatever. But whatever kind of relationship you're looking for, you want to be able to incorporate things that show pairs. Or if you're looking for like a group of friends, then you can use things to represent a lot of people. Use your imagination. The west direction applies to creativity and the inner child. The element is metal and the colors are orange and gold. Suggestions: display art and imaginative decor. The northwest direction applies to travel and associates. The element is metal and the colors are black, white, and gray. Suggestions: use images of planes, globes, maps, and your dream vacation in this part of your home or workspace. And I also wanted to say, there are times where, like, I had mentioned before in the previous slides that I incorporate Feng Shui with what they call Western type of occultism. That means I recognize like the four directions, like north, east, south, and west. And for example, this northwest direction, well, in the occult, you recognize those four cardinal points. But here we have the northwest, and it's like, okay, yeah, it counts, okay? It's a directional point, just like anything else. But there are times where you can incorporate things from the Western ideas and mix it with the Eastern. So like, for example, this northwest, when I think of travel, what immediately comes to mind to me is the color of the globe, which is like green and blues and those kind of colors. You can use the associations that come to your mind that you feel close to, but when it comes to Feng Shui, sometimes that may not work. So consult an expert to be sure. I have never had any problems when I have used the colors green or blue in the northwest directions, but there are certain things when it comes to Feng Shui where it has to be precise, okay? Like when it comes to things that, like, for example, the element of fire, things that are in need of like a push or like a strong energy, okay? And so this is one of the reasons why I don't like certain colors in the south direction, because it may cool down certain energies that need to be hot, if you understand what I'm saying. So you can experiment with it, but I really do suggest talking to an expert when you're dealing with certain things. And like, for example, substitutions of color, incorporating color. Like I said, blue works well for me. Also, in the previous slide, I talked about the west direction. If you're just acknowledging the four regular points, generally west is associated with water in Western ideal or Western occultism. In the Eastern occultism, the direction of west is associated with creativity. So to me, west represents water. It represents water, and I've never had any problems doing that. But like I said, if you ever feel like the energy isn't quite right, you may want to experiment a little more, but definitely contact an experienced consultant. And like I said, I do have Judith Aurora Ryan's information in the description link. Now, when it comes to the center of the Bagua, I have seen it depicted in several different ways. Now, the center would be, I guess, the equivalent of like the ether or the spirit in Western occultism. In Eastern occultism, the center represents health, I guess, and vitality, the overall being, the spirit, whatever. The element is earth, and the colors, I've seen the colors in different ways. Okay, I've seen the colors in sun colors of yellow and orange, and I've also seen it the same way it's been depicted in this Bagua, as black and white. And when I think of the black and white, I think of balance. And to me, that's a representation of health, because you don't want to be leaning one way or another. You don't want to be too light. You don't want to be too dark. You want to have balance. So if you get a chance, you might want to Google Bagua and take a look at them and use that Bagua, right, to as a focal point and an instructional tool on finding the locations in your house. But anyway, going back to the center can be represented in different ways. And so Those would be my suggestions. You could either use the sun colors, or you could use black and white, or maybe even gray. Use your imagination. Now, I found this Bagua mirror on Amazon.com, and it seems reasonably priced. The amount of it is only, let's see here, it's $9.99, and it is a traditional Chinese mirror for, they're using it for protection and luck. But what I liked about this mirror is that if you stare in it, you become the center. So you could use it that way as well. It's a great price, and the information is in the description box. Keeping your house clean and doing cleanup work sometimes seems like a burden or a miserable task that you just want to hurry up and get over with. And I understand the feeling, but you have to think about the overall picture and how it's going to affect your mood in other areas of your life. So when you clean up your home, do so joyfully. Try to get a better mindset on what you're doing for yourself by cleaning up. Also, I hope that you enjoyed this video and will incorporate some of the ideas. And like I said, also use flexibility. Experiment a little. If you don't like the color associations, yes, try it. Try something different. But if something is not working for you, that color combination when it comes to Feng Shui may not be right. Okay, so you just kind of work with it. And then also don't be ashamed to reach out to Judith, Aurora, Ryan for any sort of advice on which you can do better. So I'm looking forward today. After this video, I was like seriously thinking, okay, how am I going to schedule this video? Because I want to make this video, and I also want to get back to my house cleaning, because right now I'm just on fire to get this done. Mainly because it's for my overall well-being. You know what I mean? Nobody likes sitting in clutter, and I'm doing the best I can to eliminate it as much as possible. I do plan on taking my car to get it cleaned, like take a vacuum, clean it all out, and also wash the outside of it as well. Take pride in your possessions, and always take care of the things that you're supposed to be in, whether that be your home, your garage, your workspace, your car, wherever it is you are, it needs to be treated properly. Okay, treat your environment with the utmost respect, and make sure that you set a good environment for yourself to attract the positive chi, or the positive energy. Last week's synchronistic symbol was the purple or blue dragonfly, which I did see quite a few times last week. I actually saw some beads with a dragonfly on it. This week's synchronistic symbol is the blue bunny. Now, I know that you don't see blue bunnies running around in nature. Apparently, there was somebody who did breed a blue bunny. I believe that person's name is, let me take a look. Louis Salisbury in, I guess, 1917 or something, bred some bunnies to create a blue bunny, but we don't really see them running around or anything like that. Most of the time when we see blue bunnies, they're usually like stuffed animals. Those do count, but I'll tell you what else counts if you see a blue bunny. Now, let's just say, for example, your friend comes in and they want you to share in some ice cream, and they bring in this Blue Bunny ice cream brand, right? It's written, it's not the actual bunny, a real bunny or a stuffed animal, but it still says Blue Bunny. So if you see it in writing, yes, it counts. So I'm going to wrap up this video. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I hope that you will apply as much positive energy into your life as possible. I will be back next week with another episode of Monday Merriment. Take care. Bye-bye.